All right, in today's lesson, we are going to be looking at keyboard shortcuts and multi-touch gestures that you can use with your Mac to speed things up. And so far, we've covered a lot of really important topics, but it's been pretty basic. And now I want to start introducing certain things that will help you work a little faster. So keyboard shortcuts are a huge part of that. So what are keyboard shortcuts? So if you look under almost any menu on the Mac, you're going to have a bunch of options. And usually to the right of that, if there's a keyboard shortcut already pre-made, it's going to be shown right over here. So instead of going up to the menu and choosing New Finder window, you could just choose Command and the letter N on your keyboard and do the same thing. So probably four most crucial shortcuts that everybody should know and memorize are going to be right here under the edit menu. So you have the undo, you've got cut, copy, and paste. And those are probably the four most useful ones that you're going to get to use on a regular basis. The nice thing about those, if we go look, is they're right next to each other on the keyboard. So you got the Command key, you've got the Z key, X for cut, C for copy, and V for paste, all right here within easy reach. Well, that's if you're right-handed. It's a little bit discriminatory against left-handed people. But so why would you use these? So let's say that I grab these two folders and put them in the trash. So Command delete. And I realize, I didn't mean to grab the third one. So you could go and fish stuff out of the trash, or you could go to the edit menu and undo. It's just going to be a lot quicker to do it right here from the keyboard and bring everything back. So, that's a really basic example, but let's say that you are moving files around, and let's say that I've got this folder that I want to move into a different area of the computer, and I'm trying to bring it to MacLearn down here, and let's say I mess up and drop it in manuals. So same thing, instead of opening manual folder, going to fish it out, you could just press undo, and that's going to bring it right back where it was. And you can then try that again. And Command Z has, most applications, multiple levels of undo. So for example, if I'm working on a slide and I want to experiment and move some stuff around. So let's say that I want to grab this text and move it to a different area just to see how it looks. So I'm going to move these four pieces of text, and I check it out and I decide, you know what, that does not look that great. So instead of going up to the menu four times and doing this, I could just Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, and really quickly get back a few steps to where I was. So Command Z is really important if you're doing word processing, working in spreadsheets. I mean, there's tons of stuff where if you're doing a lot of data entry, or if you're doing a design, particularly in Photoshop, you're trying things around, you could just undo the last step or the last few steps and get back to where you were very quickly. All right, so that's the Command Z or undo command. Next up, we'll look at Command X, which is the cut command. So let's say that I'm working on a spreadsheet, and I've got a very simple spreadsheet with some numbers. So different quarters here, and then we have different regions. And I decide, you know what, I want these two things to be in two separate spreadsheets. So I want to move this to a different spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on the first cell up here, shift click on the last one, and I can click Command X to cut, and it kind of fades a little bit. It knows that I'm going to grab that and paste it somewhere else, most likely. So I'm going to go to my blank spreadsheet, and the first cell is already selected. I can just press Command V, and that's going to paste it right in there. So now if we go back to the first spreadsheet, it has been moved from this one to the second one. So that's the cut command, and that's really handy. Most people just use copy and paste and then go back and delete the original items, but cut can, Command C can save you a lot of time. So remember these, they're really useful. The copy, you can use that in just about every program to just make a copy of whether it's a picture, you can drop off somewhere, you copy text in an email. You're probably doing this quite a bit already, but it's useful just across the board on just about every program on the computer. So Command C and Command V for copy and paste. The other keyboard shortcut we're going to look at is the application switcher. So that's Command and Tab. So what does that do? If I press down on the Command key and then just lightly tap on the Tab key, I'm going to get this, what's called the application switcher. And this little pop-up display comes up, and you can see exactly which applications you have currently open on the Mac. And so right now I'm moving with a mouse around it. I could just click on Keynote and that would take me to Keynote. You can also just press Command Tab and then just keep tapping the Tab key to move through your different applications. So let's say I want to open up Microsoft, or I want to go to Microsoft Word. I can just tap to Microsoft Word, and when I release everything, it's going to take me to Microsoft Word, right? So that is really handy. That's probably the thing I use the most personally. I usually have 4 or 5 programs running at once, and instead of having to come down to the dock and clicking on each application every time, go in different places, you could just use this application switcher to really quickly go back and forth. And particularly if you're going back and forth between 2 applications, all you have to do, if I press Command Tab, I'm going back to Keynote. Command Tab again, right back in Safari. Command Tab, right back in Keynote. So it's really a handy tool to jump back and forth between 2 programs you're working on. Next, we're going to be looking at using gestures on your Mac. So this is something that you're going to be doing quite a bit if you have a MacBook of any kind, where you're going to have the trackpad on there naturally. If you have a Magic Mouse, you're going to be able to use this. If you have an iMac or a Mac Mini and you want to use gestures, you would either use the Magic Mouse and get one of those, or you could also use these Magic Trackpad. And using gestures can really save tons of time. Instead of, for example, having to come up here and click on the left arrow, you can use 2 fingers and just travel back and forth between a couple of web pages that you just went to. But there's tons of uses for it. So if I switch, let's say, to a word processor like Microsoft Word, and I've got a typo here, I meant to write Safari and I hit the wrong key, I can just, with 2 fingers, right click on it, and I'll have my spell checker right there available. You can do things such as this. So in Microsoft Word right now, I've got 4 documents open. And I could go up to Window and navigate between the 4 different ones, or I could just with 3 fingers swipe down and do this. And then with 3 fingers swiping up on the trackpad, I can see everything that's currently open on my computer, my spreadsheet, my Keynote, all the Word documents, the web page that's open, and then I can just easily click on one of those to bring it to the front. So gestures are really powerful, can be a huge time saver in just about every app out there. If you want to find out more about gestures, what I would recommend, and I'm going to hide all these for a second, is to go to the Apple menu, System Preferences, and under the trackpad, you have 3 different sections, and so it's going to show you everything that your trackpad is capable of doing. So under point and click, you can, if you just hover around any of these titles, it's going to show you on the right in the little video what this function does. So secondary click, which is one I use a lot. So you're clicking with 2 fingers on the trackpad, and it's the same as right clicking on the mouse. Tap to click, that's one I'm not too crazy about, but a lot of people use that quite a bit. You have a scroll and zoom options. As you can see, I'm not a fan, but some people love these. It allows you to rotate images and do a number of things. This seems to be stuck. Under more gestures, and this is what I use a lot. So mission control, for example, is what I just showed you. So if you're using a MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, MacBook of any kind, and you've got the trackpad, it really pays to get comfortable with all of these, and you can do some really cool stuff. So just spend a few minutes and look at what these gestures do for you and experiment with them. All of these I think are fantastic. So if you have, for example, tons of things open right now and I need to get to my desktop, I can just do this and see the desktop and everything clears out of the way, and then whoop, bring everything back. So there's a couple web pages that you should definitely check out that explain gestures in a little bit more detail. So one of them is this Apple page where they have nice little descriptions of what you can do with these gestures. So it's worth scrolling down in here and checking these out. It's for both the trackpad and the Magic Mouse. And then probably my favorite regarding this topic, this guy Dan Rodney has a website where he has a fantastic description of all the different Mac keyboard shortcuts that you could probably want to use. So he describes what all the keys are on your keyboard, and then he explains some of the most useful ones in different, in Finder, in App Switcher, in the dock, and so on. So I'm going to link these two pages for you in the lesson, and definitely take a little time to check these out and see if there's anything here that appeals to you. All right, that's it for this lesson.